Good evening to everyone. On behalf of Association for Veterinary Dermatology India and INTAS Animal Health, I welcome all of you for this wonderful dermatology webinar. Today we have got our guest speaker, Dr. Chandrasekhar, Professor, Clinical Medicine Department of Madras Veterinary College, who is a very good researcher as well as clinical practitioner, and he involves himself in lymphoma for so many years in all research as well as in clinical activities. Apart from that, he is also he is in charge of critical care unit, and he is doing dialysis, and he is all-rounder, and he is a very good clinician. Most of us are knowing him well. I request Dr. Nitin Bhatia to introduce him for others. Thank you. Hello.
Thank you, Dr. Nagaraj. I have a pleasure of introducing Dr. M. Chandrasekhar. Of course, he is a postgraduate, postdoctorate in veterinary medicine, and he also holds a PG diploma in orthopedics. He is currently the in charge of the small animal critical ward at Madras Veterinary College. He has a lot of expertise in the field of veterinary medicine. He has been the prime mover at Tanvas for the establishment of hemodialysis unit, which is currently fully functional and quite in use very well, and one of the most specialized places at the Madras Veterinary College, especially for the renal diseases. He also specializes on oncology. He has been last few years of his life are fully dedicated to lymphomas and various DBT and DST projects on oncology. So I welcome Dr. Chandrasekhar for a wonderful insight into canine lymphoma, a topic which at times, many a times, practitioners need a better insight.
Proceed, doctor.
Good evening to all. Rest of the other country, I don't know, good morning, good afternoon. The topic which I'm going to talk to you on, canine epitheliotropic lymphoma and its management. It is a, commonly encountered.
Please upload the slide.
Can I put the slides, Chandrasekhar?
You ask him to share, sir. Ask Nitin to share the slides.
Okay.
It's a very common problem. When you are carefully examining, when you are not able to carefully examine, we may miss the, of the important point. And globally, there are several staging system has been approved, and once you, it will be like red patches on the body surface. You will find the scales, and then it will become a nodule. Then it will become a, ulcer formation. These are all the different classifications. And usually the message behind this, the protecting cells are the B and T lymphocytes, and the protecting cell itself become malignant because of the triggering factor. One of the triggering factor you can see in the slides, and there are stem cells, lymphoid cells, and you can see the B lymphocyte and T lymphocytes. These are all the cells used to protect us from the uneventual events. Any invader is coming, they used to protect us. But unfortunately, some triggering mechanism, it prevents them to protect, and it will become a cancerous condition. Next slide. And the cutaneous lymphoma accounts for nearly 5% of all canine lymphoma, and only around 1% of all canine neoplasm in canine. It is one of the most common cutaneous lymphoma in canine. Epitheliotropic lymphoma usually affect older dogs, age about 9 to 11 years old. There is no breed and sex predilection. Next slide. Etiology, as of now, etiology of a cutaneous epitheliotropic lymphoma is unclear, and the possible predisposing factor debated in man is a chronic inflammations by Lemberg et al. 1979. The chronic inflammatory process has been proposed as a risk factor for the development of canine epitheliotropic cell lymphoma. For example, any irritation, any persisting skin lesion in the particular region, unless you control the primary problem, they think that that is the predisposing factor for the canine epitheliotropic T cell lymphoma. And next slide. Epitheliotropic lymphoma, this type of cutaneous lymphoma may be either a B or T cell in origin. It is in the same and manifest in the same manner as it is epitheliotropic counterpart. But you can see the lesions on the oral and around the eyelid region. Here you will not be able to see the nodule formation. Next slide. See, this type of lymphoma is a poorly response to chemotherapy. Now we are non-epitheliotropic lymphoma. Next slide. There are three subtypes described in canine epitheliotropic lymphomas. One is mucosis fungoides. The second is Page-Diaz reticulosis. Third is Sézary syndrome. And then here you will find the different lesions, but all these can come under the canine epitheliotropic T cell lymphoma. Next slide. The one I want to study, you can see that the first slide, and it is a exfoliative form. You can see the scaling, erosion, ulceration, hypopigmentation, alopecia. This is, they call it as, usually you can find it on the head and trunk region. This is come under the exfoliative form. Next is the plaque or nodule form. The second picture you can see on the PowerPoint. You now commonly seen in the head and trunk region, you can find as a patches, plaques, nodules, and crust and alopecia. The third is a mucocutaneous form. You can find it on the mucocutaneous junctions of lips, eyelid, and nose. You will find erythema, hypopigmentation, erosion, and ulceration. The fourth is the ulcerative disease condition. You will find in the mucocutaneous junction of the oral cavity. You can find the ulceration of the gum region. You can also find there is a hyperemic condition on the gum to attachment with the periodontal region. So to identify all these lesions, the most important thing is the clinician should examine the patient thoroughly. Now you can see in the this picture, you can see the lesions on the head and trunk region. You can see the lesions on the nasal and the upper lip regions. You can also see in the oral cavity. So the dermatologist examination, you need to carefully examine from head to toe, tail region. You need to, the most important thing is, they say skin is the mirror of the internal organ. Yes, definitely it's a mirror. It is up to the examiner how they are able to examining the things, how they are able to carefully examining all the points. Then only you can able to get the message, carefully. Here you can see on the first slide, you can see the scaling erosion, but the scaling erosion, it is there in Humpty number of diseases. You will see in any deficiency diseases also you will get this. Another thing is patches and plaques. This is also the different condition you will get this. Erythema, hyperpigmentation, erosion, ulceration. You will get it in some of the genetic disorders, especially in case of pemphigus also. The fourth picture in the between the mucus, gum and the periodontal region. This will also, you will get it in case of majority of the conditions, some of the genetic example in case of lupus erythematosus, all these conditions you will encounter these problems. To differentiate this, there are several techniques normally they follow. One of the techniques is the fine needle aspiration biopsy. The fine needle aspiration biopsy, it's like my pen, you have to introduce my exam, go back to the previous slide. Sir. So fine needle aspiration biopsy, just introduce the needle into the mass, aspirate the content, put it on the slide. This itself you can able to make out the malignancy or the cancerous condition in the patient. Sometimes you have a doubt whether the problem is ordinary or very severe type. In those conditions, you need to go for excisional biopsy. The entire area you need to excise. and then send it, or small incision you need to make out and put it in a 10% formula, send it to the good pathologist, wherein you can make out various type of problems, like whether it's a T cell or B cell, you can make out by using the special marker. In case of B cell lymphoma, we use normally CD19 and 20 markers. In case of T cell lymphoma, we use normally CD3 and CD4 marker. In human population, whether to know T cell or B cell lymphoma, they have several panel of markers. That panel of markers is useful to tell them what type of problem it is. The next, so go back to previous slide. We keep this slide itself. Then the next point, what I want to insist is now, I told you about the biopsy staging, fine needle aspiration site. I told you incisional biopsy. I told you about incisional biopsy. Sometimes you can also take the core biopsy. The entire core you can take and send it to the, put it to the 10% problem, send it to the pathologist. They can able to classify what type of problem it is. That's another important observation. Apart from that, there are several other tests, like we have a flow cytometry and we have a partial antigen receptor rearrangement. In those conditions, you can send the blood, you can send the tissue sample, you can also send the already prepared slide. With this itself, they have a panel of markers. The panel of markers they subjected into PCR testing. In the PCR testing, they are able to detect whether the problem is cancerous type or non-cancerous type. Majority of the cases, for all the lymphomas, you will have a lymph node enlargement. When you see an lymph node enlargement, these are all the important diagnostic like FNAB, incisional biopsy, excisional biopsy, core biopsy. So the message is, practitioners, you need to examine the skin lesion carefully, and if you have a doubt of what type of problem it is, do a FNAB, and if possible take a biopsy, which I told various technique that can help you to tell you what type of problem. This can give you the confirmatory diagnosis, then your problem will be easier. Another important thing is counseling the owner is very, very important. If you don't give the proper counseling to the owner, they will not be in a position to understand what type of the depth of the problem, what type of the experts involved. You need to explain about the relapse, you need to explain about the prognosis, you need to explain about the longevity. So all these messages playing an important role in managing the case of epitheliotropic cutaneous lymphoma. So I told you about the various diagnostic technique. Another important thing is the various diagnostic methods which they involve. I told you about the PAR assay. The another important thing is the flow cytometry. Flow cytometry, what is the technique? It's a high-end technique. None of the practitioners they have in India. Some practitioners in abroad, they have, but here we have the instrument called flow cytometry. What it does, it collects the sample, whether the FNAB from the tissue or from the lymph nodes or from the affected mass, you can take the FNAB, mix it with the phosphate buffer saline, and then we have the color coding for a CD3 markers. We have a color coding for CD19 and 20. The CD3, CD4 they meant for T cell lymphoma. CD19 and 20 meant for the T cell lymphomas. These markers they put it in the container, and there will be a gamma camera they focus. So what it does, the flow cytometry, within a second, it can able to detect several thousands of cells. It can predict about clearly identify. It can clearly sort it out, and it can able to tell what type of problem, which type of the malignant cells are high in that population. Among the available technique, we have a PAR assay, we have a ultrasound technique, we have a radiographic, we have a fine needle aspiration technique. All this technique compared to the flow cytometry, they are having high sensitivity and high specificity. This is available in a few centers in the country. We have one of the instrument. You need to send the sample to us. We will be able to provide you at the free of cost. At the end of my work, we want to provide at the free of cost to the country, and those who want the sample to be processed, they can send it to us. We will be able to tell you what type of the problem and how it has to be carried on. What are the problem involved, what protocol you can follow, all those things we can tell you. And the World Health Organization, they classify the lymphoma into several categories, depends upon the lymph node involvement. The stage 1 is the single node involvement. Stage 2, regional involvement of multiple lymph node, including tonsil. Stage 3 is a generalized lymph node involvement. Stage 4, involving stage 1 and 3rd, it is also involving the liver and spleen. Stage 5 is involving the blood or bone marrow. There are substage, absence of systemic sign. There won't be any systemic sign. In case of the substage B, you have a systemic sign, fever, weight loss, hypercalcemia. These are all the important, staging system. They normally follow in case of staging of lymphoma in veterinary side. Next slide. There are staging of lymphoma in next slide, sir. There are stage 1. You have less than 10% of the skin is covered. In case of stage 1B, less than 10% of skin is covered or more is covered. Stage 11A, any amount of the skin surface is covered with lymph nodes involvement. Stage 1B, one or more of the tumors are found on the skins. The lymph nodes may be enlarged. Stage 3, nearly all of the skin is reddened. Stage 4A, most of the skin is reddened and this cancer is found in the blood. Stage 4 is advanced, 4B is advanced than the stage 4A. These are all the classification normally they follow in case of human medicine. Next slide. So approach to the diagnosis, which I told you already, the most important thing is we do a FNAC. You can see on the slides. And before that, any tumor involvement, normally we take blood sample for investigation, and then we screen the hematology and the biochemistry. The most important thing, interesting point in the biochemistry is, majority of the cases of T-cell lymphoma, you will have a good marker called high level of calcium. The calcium level in dog is 10 milligram per deciliter. In case of T-cell lymphoma, the calcium level will be high. But majority of the cases in our study, majority of them within the normal, few cases they had a high amount of calcium level. So what they say, but in case of hypercalcemia, the parathyroid hormone getting stimulated, so you have a more amount of calcium level. And then if you find a more amount of calcium, majority of the cases, there are other conditions also, you will have hypercalcemia, but you need to give a differential diagnosis. You can also think about the lymphoma also. If the animal responding to the chemotherapy, the calcium level also will reduce. That is the message about the biochemistry related to the calcium. Then clinical features like the lesions, whatever I told you about the scales, erythema, nodule, ulceration, and you can find the lesion between the mucocutaneous regions, the erythema between the gum and the periodontal region. These are all some of the salient features in case of cutaneous T-cell lymphoma. Then final aspiration biopsy, I told you that immunohistochemistry depends upon the marker they use. Chronology testing they use for PARASA. Then flow cytometry. Radiography is here able to help us to detect whether the mass or the enlargement of the organ we can make a presence of effusion, all those things we can make out. Ultrasonography is a gold standard technique in case of lymphomas. And the cases which is spread to the internal organ, especially liver and spleen, you will not be able to make out just by looking at the liver, because there will be it is a infiltrating tumors. You have a tumor, if it is hemangiosarcoma, you can see a lesion on the mass. But in case of hepatic lymphoma, it is a infiltrating. Infiltration will be there. Generalized hepatomegaly will be there, and with the ultrasound guided final aspiration biopsy, you can take this material for investigation, put him on the slide, stain it, look at it under the microscope. The more amount of hepatic lymphocytes you can appreciate, that's the way you can confirm the hepatic lymphoma. Another important characteristic find in case of splenic lymphoma, the spleen of the canine, it will be like a cattle reticulum. Cattle reticulum, you will have an honeycomb-like structure. That the features you can appreciate. Another important thing is, in case of, or they call it as Swiss seas. In case of Switzerland, the seas, it will be like a lot of depression on the seas. That type of appearance will be there. That's the way the ultrasound playing an important role. And these are all the approach wherein you can make the diagnosis. And in my observation, there are internal lymph node involvement like mesenteric lymph node involvement. There are gastric lymph node involvement. That and all you cannot make out with your clinical just by looking at it. What you need to do is you need to carefully do an if there is internal involvement, carefully do an ultrasound. With the ultrasound, you can appreciate the hypoechic. It will be like a bunch of grapes. If the bunch of grape is there, definitely it's a case of mesenteric lymphoma. There are occasion colonic lymphoma. The colonic lymph node enlarge, it will compress the bladder. The animal will not be able to void urine. It will end up with the anuria. Once you treat them with the chemotherapy, only the enlarged lymph node will subside. The animal can void urine. Similarly, mesenteric lymphoma, we have seen couple of cases. There will be enlarged lymph node. It will compress the fecal voiding. And then once you give the chemotherapy, the enlarged mesenteric lymph node will subside. The animal can void feces very freely. The fecal obstruction also we observed in couple of cases of lymphomas. Next slide. This already I told you current status of the canine lymphoma diagnosis, fine needle aspiration. You can appreciate the lymphomas, and then with the phenotypic appearance, you need to subject them for flow cytometry with the cytology and biopsy. You can make out. If you have a reactive lymphocytes, you need to subject them to flow cytometry, porosity, and biopsy. Next slide. So, I declared the cytology. If you have a doubt, you need to subject them for histopathology. Is very important. I told you various technique. What are the points you need to follow taking the biopsy? Next slide. This is the point. Dermatological assessment should include thorough evaluation of the skin, interdigital space, and the mucopotential junction, as well as the oral mucosa. This was I told you in the beginning of my presentation. Palpation of the peripheral lymph node and the fine needle aspirate in case of lymphadenopathy should also be performed. When complete staging is studied, it can include thoracic radiography, abdominal ultrasound, which are performed to look for internal lymphadenopathy or additional lesion. Fine needle aspiration of liver and spleens, you need to perform with ultrasound guidance before doing the biopsy. Check the platelet count, PT, APTT values, so that you can, if the PT, APT value platelet counts are normal, you can go them for the biopsy. Otherwise, if the platelet count is less than 50,000, it will bleed and then die. So better to do this test and then go for fine needle aspiration biopsy of the internal organ. Next slide. These are all some of the clinics which I have been telling you with the various slides. You have diffuse erythema, plaques, scaling, nodules, focal hypopigmentation, mucosal involvement, alopecia. You will have a pure patch plaques, and you will have a pure mucocutaneous lesion, pure exploding erythema, pure ulcerative mucosal disease. Next slide. This picture can tell you. These pictures in the private practice or in the referral hospital, they must have not only for the locating the cutaneous lymphoma or the lesion on the skin. And when I went there in 2008, Michigan State University, they have an oncology unit separately. In the oncology unit, they have a separate data sheet form like this. In the data sheet form, the examiners, you can mark the lesion where exactly the lesions are noticed. What is the length? What is the breadth? Able to see in the first picture, right lateral side of the dog, I am able to see the lesion on the nasal bridge and also on the upper lip and also on the upper right lip. This mostly characterized in case of cutaneous erythematous lesion. I can also see lesion on the right limb. I can also see on the medial aspect of thigh and below the tail. Similarly, in the left side pictures, you can see lesions similar to where I mentioned at the right side. Similarly, you can also see the lesions here. And then in the middle picture, you can see the lesions on the nasal bridge and also the upper lip. And similarly, dorsal view of the pictures. So why I practice many of the cases being referred to me, they thinking that's ordinary simple lesion. They say it's a inflammatory swelling of the skin. That's what the case being referred to us. It is the time to, you need to look into the details of the cases. You need to pinpoint the lesions. You need to, while referring the case, you need to, refer. These are all the lesions, suspecting the case like this. So that, it will helpful for us to figure out what it is. And the majority of the cases being treated with the overzealous medications and a lot of steroid, that will also, mask our observations. So first, if you identify the cause, then go ahead. If you don't identify the, refer to the next nearby hospital. There will be in a position to help you what it is, and then accordingly you can go ahead. The client also won't go, and then you can give the proper prognosis. You can maintain them. And then the dorsal side of the pictures you can see. Similarly, ventral side you can see the lesions on the front limb and also on the hind limb and also on the entire body. So this examination is playing an important role. The skin is the mirror. Yes, now you can see the lesion. Thereby, you can make out the lesions proper, identify the problem properly. You can, do the needful to the particular case, and also you can reduce the mental agony to the pet owners. Thereby, you can give a comfort, to the animal and also to the pet owners. Next slide. This I have been preaching you from the beginning. You can see the characteristic exfoliation on the forehead region. The next picture, you can see the hyperpigmentation, the erythema on the below the nose, on the on the lip region. The next one, you can see the erythema, hyperpigmentation, the crest on the footbed. These are all the characteristic symptoms. This has been recorded worldwide. These lesions are available in the major literature. You can Google it. You can see the these type of lesions. There are other pictures also. Next slide. See the generalized alopecia with severe scaling, dermatitis in dog with cutaneous lymphoma. You can see the Cocker Spaniel. See, among the available breed, they found the Cocker Spaniel and the Boxer. They were in a higher predilection in some of the literature they are quoting. And the next pictures, you can see erythematous hyperpigmentation patches associated with the nodule. The third one, you can see the exfoliatory erythroderma. The fourth one, you can get a footpad hypopigmentation and the ulceration caused by cutaneous epitheliotropic T-cell lymphomas. Next slide. See, you can see there are veterinary clinics of North America. Recently, they have published all these pictures. You can also see in the Google. And the erosion of the gingiva in dog with cutaneous epitheliotropic lymphoma. Erosion and the ulceration of the palate in the dog with epitheliotropic lymphomas. Erosion and ulceration of the tongue, you can appreciate. Similarly, erythema, hyperpigmentation, erosion, ulceration of the mucous. How many of you opening the dog mouth and seeing the dermatological problem? You know. So hereafter, better to look at the mouth and open the mouth and locate the lesions. That will help you to figure out some of the observation, which will help you to make a better diagnosis. Next slide. Next slide. This is the cytological pictures. You can see the pleomorphic mixed cell type of lymphoma from the impression smear taken from the skin ulcerated portions. You will have the variable cells with the scanty basoplastic type of cytoplasm, irregular shaped nucleoli, presence of mitotic figures suggestive of hygroid lymphoma. This is a variable sized cells, irregular shaped nuclei, presence of mitotic figures. These are the characteristic observation in case of lymphomas. Next slide. So the collected sample, we subject them for marker studies. So in the slide, you can see the more amount of CD3 uptake. The first slide is the biopsy which we collected. You will see more amount of lymphocytes. Whether the lymphocyte is malignant in T cell nature, we have a CD3 marker. We subject the CD3 marker. You can see on the slide the more amount of CD3 markers on the slides. Next slide. RSA is, when you want to identify the cancerous, non-cancerous type. Sometime in case of ehrlichiosis also, you will have a, lymph node enlargement. That will also mimic the practitioner can think that it is a case of lymphoma. In case of inflammatory bowel disease also, you will have a mesenteric lymph node enlargement. To differentiate whether this is having an inflammatory bowel disease enlarged lymphoma, whether the problem is due to E. canis induced enlarged lymphomas, we have a PARASA. This is actually a partial antigen receptor rearrangement. Molecular testing, we can able to predict whether the problem is due to the B cell origin, whether the problem is due to T cell origin, whether the problem caused by E. canis, whether the problem caused inflammatory bowel disease. It's a genetic based studies. We have a full-fledged team for working on that. We will be able to tell you what it is, differentiating with all these problems. Next slide. Next. Yeah, the slide you can see, E. canis we can identify in go back to previous slide. E. canis we can identify in a 409 base pair. Similarly, T cell we can identify in a 90 base pair. So that PCR pictures which you can see on the monitor. Based on that, we can clarify whether this problem is due to E. canis or T cell origin. We can make out. Similarly, B cell or inflammatory bowel disease we can make out. Next slide. cytometry, which I told you, the collected sample with the color coded and put it in the flow cytometry machine, the laser light, showing into the cells. The cells I told you in the beginning itself, 5,000 cells per second it can short it out. How many cells are T cell? How many cells are B cell? How many cells are normal cell? We can identify with this Delpop technique. This facility available with us. With our research, we are going to provide at the free of cost at the end of the research. Next slide. Next. So this is the way the result they give. How many their T cell proliferation? How many cells are T cell like that? Based on that, we can identify. We will tell you the result. Next slide. Next. Another interesting case, the 6.5-year-old Labrador brought to Madras Veterinary Teaching Hospital with the from the surgery unit. They came for maggot wound, and then when we examined, we found enlarged lymph node and the plaque erythematous lesions we found around the groin region, and the swelling erosion we found in the oral mucocutaneous junction, and we subjected for FNAB and PAR-SA and biopsy. We found it as a T cell lymphoma. And then histopathology, they classified as it is a case of cutaneous epitheliotropic T cell lymphoma. Next slide. The first picture you can see erosion at the mucocutaneous junction. The second slide you can see the erosion and plaque formation. And the fourth one you can see there is a nodule on the gum region. In between the gum and the periodontal region you can see the growth. And here also you can see the oral commissure, you can see the lesions. So these are all the classical symptoms. The dog lived only a couple of months after the diagnosis, but that is the sad end part of the cutaneous T cell. Most of the B cell lymphoma, they live longer with the chemotherapy. But T cell lymphoma, the survival is very shorter. What you need to do here, the examiner, the dermatology, you need to tell the prognosis to the owner. And then it will be helpful for them to understand the problem. In this slide, we have taken the biopsy. You can see that these are all lymphocytes. You can see the more amount of CD3 uptake in the slides. Next slide. This is the hematobiochemical changes. We couldn't appreciate much change in the hematology. Next slide. Next. Biochemistry also we couldn't identify any changes. Mostly in case of T cell lymphoma, you will have more calcium. But this particular case, it's marginally less calcium level. But there are other cases which had an elevated level. Next slide. The other case, a 3-year-old Labrador dog brought to Madras Teaching Hospital with the history of hyperpigmentation, alopecia, and pruritus. And this case also diagnosed as a lymphoma. Next slide. Hematology, we couldn't appreciate anything. Next slide. Biochemistry also not much, not much changes. Next slide. This is another interesting case. Still, it is under our treatment. This is referred from a dermatology and a surgery unit. This frequently they have brought it to our institute. Some of my colleagues, they observed and sent it to us. You can see the hairless patches on the lumbosacral region. Is clearly you can appreciate. And also there is a lot of pigmentation on the abdominal region. You can see the crusty lesion on the hip region, and you can see the erythematous lesion on the foot bed. And we collected from the biopsy from the enlarged lymph node. We confirmed them as a T cell lymphoma. Still is under the therapy. Next slide. We couldn't appreciate anything. This is the you can see the neoplastic cytology slides. And then when you look at it in the ultrasound picture, you can see that cattle reticulum pattern of the spleen or SUSI subset. This I told you at the beginning of my presentation. Next slide. Hematology, we didn't appreciate any much changes. Next slide. And now you can see the calcium level in this case of 12.17. 12.17, that indicating it's a higher level of calcium. So those practitioners, we want to take hematology and biochemistry, look at the calcium. If the calcium and high, when they are having lymph node enlargement, persistent skin problems, you can think about in the differential about the lymphoma also. Next slide. Differential diagnosis, I told you, you have an exfoliatory erythroderma, you will have in a sarcoptic mange with the skin scraping, you can make out atopic dermatitis with allergen test, we can make out adverse food reaction, food allergen test, we can make out vascularity, leishmaniasis, keratinization disorder based on the testings, we can make out. Similarly, if there is a nodule with the help of fine needle aspiration biopsy, you can make out mucocutaneous lesions. There are mucocutaneous pyoderma, pemphigus vulgaris. So all these conditional hereditary disorders with the biopsy we can clearly identify. Oral ulceration, so that's also be differentiated with the autoimmune disease. With the careful testing with the biopsy, we can make out the problem is due to the genetic disorders or is the problem due to the cutaneous T-cell lymphoma. All these cutaneous T-cell, you will have a more amount of T-cell proliferation. And when you apply the CD3 markers, you will have a more amount of CD3 marker proliferation. Therein, you can confirm the presence of T-cell lymphomas. Next slide. The prognosis for epithelial lymphoma is great. So another one is the average survival from time when the lesions are first noted to death or the euthanasia is about 5 to 10 months. Now you can imagine the period. So you need to tell the prognosis like though some of the dog may live several years after the careful observation and the medications, and if the smaller the lesion they live longer, higher the lesions, but the prognosis is poor. Next slide. Treatment of epitheliotropic involva, if the lesions are smaller, bigger, surgery is the best option. But if you have lesions, widespread that doesn't respond to your chemotherapy, radiation is the best option. Multiple widespread lesions are present, you need to put him on with the chemotherapy. Topical chemotherapy drug may also be helpful in single lesions or in dog with several lesions. Next slide. So I'll be telling you another 5 to 10 minutes, a lot of newer drugs. Some of them you can order through online. Some of them you will have it here. Most of the human hospital they have. And these are all research-based products. It's available commercially also. The first one is the skin-directed therapy. Surgery, I told you, all of you know there is a lesion is bigger. You can surgically remove. Therapy, there are several topical therapy we have. I'll list out one by one. Phototherapy, just focusing the lesion with some instrument. It will ultraviolet rays. It will emit the ultraviolet rays. It destroys the cancer cells. Photodynamic therapy. There are certain reagent we have to paste it on the lesion, then use the photodynamic therapy, it will kill the cancerous cells. That's the way photodynamic therapy is working. Radiation therapy, there are certain grades, probably several sittings you need to focus the patient, few seconds you need to focus, that will give you a better control of avoiding the spreading of the tumors. Then there are disease modifying agents, we have a systemic retinoids, I will tell you what are the retinoid, how we have to use and the other thing. And then we have a deniliquin diptyque. These are the drugs we use as a synthetic modifying agent. Fatty acid, your soft flour oil is good, that will they observed, that controlling the progression of the tumor, they give a better comfort to the animal. Cyclosporin, it's given a better result in certain percentage of population. Interferon, that's also giving a better result in certain cases. Systemic chemotherapy, corticosteroids is the a topical application, and then also helpful in case of systemic cases. It will, because of anti-inflammatory property, it will control the progression of the tumor. That will give the comfort to the patients. Lomustine, that's the anti-cancerous drug you can give orally. While giving the drug, you need to be careful. You have to wear a gloves, latex gloves you have to wear. Then you administer. What is the dose? How frequent you have to use? All those things I'll tell you in the subsequent slide. L-asparginase is an enzyme. This enzyme, what it does, the cancer cell utilizing amino acid getting prevented by this drug. So asparaginase can be given subcutaneous or intramuscularly. Some companies they're recommending intravenous also. When you are using this drug, you have to be very careful. Give the antihistaminic before using this drug. So thereby you can control the side effect of this drug. Then there are the combination of protocols we have that I list it one by one. Next slide. Surgery, the lesions are smaller. You need to go for surgery, which I told already. Next slide. Topical corticosteroid, this I want to, there are 1% hydrocortisone steroids with the lidocaines that are available. You can apply on the topical surface when you confirm the case of cutaneous lymphoma, or you observe the patches or plaques, they used to give a better result. The topical mechloroethamine, it is a bifunctional alkylating agent of the nitrogen mustard family, is the best described as the topical therapy for cutaneous lymphoma in dogs. And this also Google it, it's available. You can also, when you confirm the cases, you can apply this. Next slide. Then another topical preparation is carmustine. Carmustine is a bifunctional alkylating agent of the nitrosuria family, and occasionally used in human patients with the early stage of cutaneous stage lymphoma. And the disadvantage of the drug is cause myelotoxicity. And this preparation is also available. You Google it, you can find the brand. Then I told you about a topical retinoid. It is a synthetic retinoid, selectively activated retinoid. Retinoid is available in the name of bexarotene. It's in the form of gel. It's available in gel form. Topically, you can apply on the affected area. You can have a better control and the healing of the growth. Next slide. Phototherapy. This I told you. There is a ultraviolet rays. If getting emitted from this instrument, and generally certain wavelength it will go. You need to focus on where exactly the lesions are present, and with the ultraviolet radiation, it will control the tumor cell progression. It will have a better healing. The next is the photodynamic therapy. These are a few reports of the use of photodynamic therapy by using 5-amino-levonic acid. You need to apply on the patient body. Then you focus this photodynamic therapy, you will have a better control of controlling the tumor mass. There are very good reports available in human medicines. Next slide. Radiation therapy, which I told you, 30 to 60 GY you can use. Over 3 to 4 weeks you can use. The smaller the lesion which are not responding to your chemotherapy, you can subject them to radiation. You will have a better control. You can avoid the progression of the tumor mass to the other parts. Next slide. Systemic retinoid also available. That can you can give it in the form of orally, and that can it will prevent the progression of the tumor growth. Another drug will cause denileukin diptytox. This drug is interleukins. When you give it can control the tumor mass very effectively. Next slide. Acid, I told the preparation from the safflower oil. They have a good control of the affected dog population. You can try the animal which are affected with the. These are all supplemented. Apart from your routine therapy, you can give this. You will have better control. Cyclosporine. This also they found to be controlling the T cell activation and controlling the progression of the tumor growth. There are several interferons that are available that can have the cytotoxic effect on the cancer cell. It will make the cancer cell to kill. Next slide. Corticosteroids, the orally corticosteroid you can use at the dose of 0.5 to 3 mg per kg body weight, and you need to start like that. Then after that you can taper. Normally what I do in my practice, for cases affected with lymphomas, I'll put them into 2 mg per kg body weight for a week, then 1 mg per kg body weight for a week, then 0.5 mg per kg body weight for a week. So that can give a better control of the tumor. And especially prednisolone is having an anti-tumor effect. Progression of the tumor can be minimized, and then infiltration of the more amount of T cell also can be minimized. Thereby, it can give the comfort. Lomustine, this is an orally chemotherapeutic drug. 60 mg per kg meter square. Per meter square means 30 kilo body weight. Every 30 kilo body weight, you can give a 60 mg of lomustine. You can go up to 90 mg per 30 kilo body weight also you can use. There are body surface area formulas also available based on this road, and then based on the body weight of the particular dog, you calculate the dose and then give it. But you need to wear the gloves while giving this drug. This I already told you at the beginning of my presentation. Next slide. L-aspargillate, this also I told you beginning of my presentation. So it can be given subcutaneously, intramuscularly, but you need to give antihistaminics. What they mentioned here, they use a diphenhydramine injection before going for the L-aspargillate injection. The disadvantages of this drug is there are animals they can develop allergic to this. There will be anaphylactic reaction. So we have seen one cases it developed anaphylactic reaction. Then we gave him antihistaminic. Then it will under control. We put him on ET tube. We gave him the oxygen. Then we stabilize the case. like that. The dacarbazine is another anti-cancer drugs. This also can be tried. Next slide. Then pegylated doxorubicin. This is an injectable antibiotics. You can give 1 mg per kg body weight. It should be given intravenously. What I do, we use normally doxorubicin. When I use doxorubicin, once in 3 weeks only we use. But before that, I take hematology and biochemistry. Whether these things are normal only, I subject them for other testing. And then I'll take ECG, whether any chamber enlargement is there, any arrhythmia is there, all those things, and I identify. I'll also do echo, and whether the fraction starting within the normal limit only, I'll subject them for doxorubicin. Because when you use doxorubicin, that will cause cardiomyocyte damage. So always when you use, before using doxorubicin, use take ECG or echo, and then even you can take X-ray, the enlarged heart you can appreciate. And if there is an enlarged heart, once you stabilize the heart problem, then you can go ahead with this doxorubicin. And then pegylated doxorubicin is safe to the heart, but the dose is 1 mg per kg. Strictly you have to give intravenously every 3 weeks, once in 21 days you can give. The next slide. The combination chemotherapy protocol I tell you. So far I have been telling the T cell lymphoma. There are several management. There are B cell lymphoma you will get in case of cutaneous lymphoma. When there is a cutaneous B cell lymphoma, we have a list of drug we use in case of Madison Wisconsin University protocol. Madison Wisconsin University, this university there in US, and what they are doing, they have a stock of drugs. These stock of drugs to treat the cases of lymphomas they use. Normally, we found better success rate in B cell lymphoma, T cell lymphoma. The success rate is very less. The prognosis is also very poor. And next slide. These are all the list of drugs. The first we give incretin, we will give intravenously. The most important message to the practitioners, budding veterinarians, or even the experienced person, to see that you fix the Venflon before going for the Vincristine. Even the small amount of escaping from the blood vessel, that will cause severe vasculitis. You need to amputate the leg. So that's the way you need to be very careful of giving the Vincristine. Even the disposal of the catheters, even after the usage, that should be disposed separately. We are disposing along with the other disposable. It is highly carcinogenic, even the cancerous drug. This has to be done. You need to follow the biosafety measure. Asparginase, I told you, it's a cancer cell using amino acid getting prevented by this enzyme. That's also used. Prednisolone, the anti-tumor activity, I told you 3 mg we are using. Then cyclophosphamide, we're using cyclophosphamide, you have to be very careful. You need to mix with the normal saline and then administer. If you are giving raw, it will cause severe cystitis. The animal will develop various other problems. So always give it the normal saline. Follow this dose 250 milligram per meter square. The next week, it comes to 1.5 mg. Then vincristine, prednisolone, adriamycin is nothing but the doxorubicin. 1 mg per kg body weight we use, or 30 milligram per 1 meter square, 30 kilo body weight we use with the intravenous route. Then prednisolone we will reduce the dose. Then cyclophosphamide. These drugs only. There are 4 drugs: vincristine, prednisolone, asparginase. These drugs we use at various interval of time. Up to 25 weeks we give. When I use vincristine, cyclophosphamide, only 1 week we give. If I use doxorubicin, I will give a gap of 3 weeks. Another important message: before chemotherapy, I will check the general condition of the animal. I'll check the vital, temperature, heart rate, respiration rate. If these things are normal only, I'll subject them to our chemotherapy. And another important message is I'll check the hematology. All these cancerous drugs is cause bone marrow suppression. When there is a bone marrow suppression, you will have anemia, you will have leukopenia, you will have a less amount of platelet. Even animal easily susceptible to the disease. So always look into these parameters clearly. If these parameters within the normal, you can go ahead for next chemotherapy. Next slide. Chemotherapy, you are making the body, immune to fight against the cancer cell. How we are doing other thing with the diagrammatic representation, I'll tell you. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah. This is the cell. See, the CAR T cell, what we are doing, we are preparing from the healthy dog or the human being. We take out the T cell. In the T cell, there are certain vector we infuse. For example, Rannicate disease virus vector, like that. Any vector genetically they modified, they infuse here. Once that T cell, when we have genetically engineering vector inside, then we attack the tumor cells. So when we prepare this cell, that CAR T cell with some genetic engineering work, that we infuse to the diseased patient with lymphomas. What it does, it will release the cytotoxic granules. These granules, it will kill the tumor cells. So thereby it will have a direct killing effect on the tumor cells. That's the way this function. It is under the trial. We are working with some amount of the populations, and in future it may come into use. Next slide. This is the way. See, T cell we are collecting from the dog or the human being, and then we are with the genetic engineering work, we are preparing the CAR T cell. Then CAR T cell, enter into the patient affected with the cancer, and then it will attack the cancer cell. Thereby, it will have a good longevity. Next slide. These are all some of my references which I utilized for this work. Next slide. That's all my presentation. Any of the questions you can ask me so that I can interact with you.
Questions should be many, Dr. Chandrasekhar, coming up.
Yes, sir.
The first and the prime question which has already come up is, can you please discuss on the reasons calcium is elevated? Anyways, it can be helping in treatment or prevention of the disease.
Yeah. The elevation of calcium, in case of lymphoma, the parathyroid hormone getting stimulated, and you have a more amount of calcium. Any tumor, especially lymphomas, the more amount of calcium getting released from the tumor peptides. So in that occasions, when you serologically examine the calcium level, if you see more than 10 milligram per deciliter, apart from that, you will have an enlarged lymph node. That is the, you can correlate the problem, and accordingly you can treat them. When you treat them with the multiple drugs which I mentioned, you can see the reduction of the calcium level, and the reduction of the lymph node also you can appreciate. The exact region for the lymphomas, there are fewer hypotheses. There are lymphomas cutaneous region. There are lymphoma for cutaneous epitheliotropic T cell lymphoma. With epitheliotropic T cell lymphomas, when there is a stimulation of the some environmental factor, for example, the dog getting the frequently itching or irritation due to the some factors. If you don't control the factor, the triggering factor is the responsible for developing the cutaneous T cell lymphoma. The more amount of T cell it will accumulate in the affected area, the protecting cell is unable to protect the patient, it will become malignant. That is the one hypothesis given for canine cutaneous T cell lymphoma, especially canine cutaneous epitheliotropic T cell lymphoma. Coming to all other lymphomas, see, when the patient exposed to the magnetic radiation, patient taking the infected food, patient taking the infected water, and the patient with the environmental pollutions, and the pet owner consuming a lot of cigarette, that the passive smoker of the dog, these are all the hypotheses they given. And also apart from the patient with a lot of magnetic radiation, they are prone to develop other cutaneous type of lymphomas. So far, these are all the category. Another important thing is when we overzealous use of insecticides, people are using a lot of insecticide to control the insects, and especially your tick medicines. That's also a predisposing factor, can end up with various lymphomas. Even when I went to 2008, some of the researchers they told me they couldn't publish because of a lot of opposition from the other side, and these also other factors which can cause lymphomas. Next question, sir.
How do you differentiate treating a T cell and a B cell lymphoma in terms of drugs, in terms of time span, in terms of prognosis?
So if it is a cutaneous type epitheliotropic T cell lymphomas, the chemotherapy what you can use is you can use lomustine. I told you the dose rate and all. Once in 3 weeks, you can use. You need to give orally. You'll have a better that they call it CCMU or lomustine in case of T cell lymphoma. If it is a B cell lymphomas, and the longevity is better. T-cell lymphoma, the prognosis is poor. And B-cell lymphoma, I told you, there are several drugs which I mentioned, Madison, Wisconsin University protocol. They tried with it, the order is poor, they cannot affordable. You can use prednisolone, 2 mg per kg body weight, then 1 mg per kg body, then 0.5 mg per kg body weight. And another drug single agent is the doxorubicin. So you can use 1 mg per kg body weight intravenously. So another drug is a Madison, Wisconsin University. That only you need several drugs that cost about 10,000 rupees to treat the entire course of the cycle. And but when you treat the B-cell lymphoma, but without treatment, the dog can live only a month or even fewer days. But with the treatment, they found 6 months to 1 year and 2 years. If the severity is very less, it can live longer also. Next one.
How do you convince a owner
How to
regarding the
convince
treatment?
how to convince the owner? First, you need to have a good histopathology report. This is very, very important. When I was in Michigan State University, the counseling unit is like a separate unit. But you need to have take the owner, go with the pet and talk to them and explain to the histopathology report and whatever the other report you have in your hand. That's very important, in the clinical practice. There are several institutes, they started, taking up the course on client management. There are several institutes, they are giving an MBA program for the hospital management. So none of the things that are available in veterinary, but there is a program available in Hyderabad. They're providing agri-business management. Nobody is able to tell you how to manage veterinary business. And veterinary business, otherwise the client will go from me to one person to another person. The problem will present. So some of them, they have a good client result. Apart from the atmosphere, the good speaking, convincing to the owner, and then high-end report from the good pathology, that playing an important role. Once you make the owner to understand the problem, then the client won't go. And now the minute when you tell the diagnosis, they want to talk to the expert medical oncologist in US, UK, Australia. This problem that Nagaraj, other team, they faced in 25 years before. But nowadays, it's a fraction of a second. Within a fraction of a second, they get the detail. And the veterinarian is the time you need more than the what message they're getting from the Google. The Google doctor cannot give the solution, can give only the information. So it is the pet doctor can provide the authenticated information so that the owner will be convinced. Next slide. Next one.
When do you recommend euthanasia?
So euthanasia, when the owner is not affordable, when the animal is critically ill, and those conditions you need to decide. And many times, euthanasia, I will not recommend them. Even a 1 minute, 1 second you are living, that's very, even corona, all are going to die. You mean to say that we don't want any treatment and just we are going to die like that, we are living. It's not like that. So any cancer, human medicine or veterinary medicine, for this presentation, I spoke to some of the leading oncologists in Apollo and various countries. Some of my students are there. What they are telling, the comfort of the patient is very important. How long they are living, how best they are living, that is very important. And then, the client not able to look after, in those conditions, we take a call. But the maximum time, I never recommend them for euthanasia. But terminally ill, bedridden, the medicinally not possible, in those conditions, better we go for euthanasia. Euthanasia also don't use any other drug. Use internationally approved drug is a pentothal sodium, because that is a respiratory depression, cardiac depression. Animal can go smoothly. Don't use magnesium sulfate. Don't use various other drugs. That is not at all ethically recommended. Next question.
Which are the breeds which are likely to be predisposed to a lymphoma?
Yeah, but for this topic, if it is a epitheliotropic T-cell lymphoma, breed highly susceptible, which I mentioned in my presentation, Boxer and Cocker Spaniel. But in my research, various cutaneous lymphoma we have. In that, we observed maximum amount of ND breed dogs, because our populations, many people are keeping more number of ND dogs. Probably that may be the reason I assume. And then I found a lot of higher prevalence in my native breed dog. Apart from that, I observed in Labrador Retriever, I observed in Basset Hound, I observed in Doberman, I observed in Boxers. These breed genetically prone to get it. The most important message in lymphoma, that's not connected with cutaneous epithelioid lymphoma, majority of the dog they lose the vision. If you don't treat, there is ocular lymphoma. If you don't identify this, the animal is blind. If you see a corneal opacity, if you see a hypema on the eye, better check for the lymphomas, because I have got lot of cases at the end of losing the vision because they were treating for the eye problem, and then at the end, we have confirmed a couple of cases of ocular involvement lymphoma. We have a CT scan image also for that. Next, sir.
I don't understand the question, but I'll put before you if you know it. Do you recommend Mesna before Cytoxan?
Yeah, it depends. If the lesions are severe, we can use Cessna before cyclophosphamide usage.
What is Mesna?
Cessna is an anti-cancer drug.
Mesna.
But
Mesna. MESNA.
MESNA is methotrexate.
Okay. Now you have talked about prednisolone and its usage in like lymphoma. Similar is the usage of prednisolone even in COVID. So, do you recommend in every case a use of predni or in specific cases?
You tell me again. Prednisolone.
Prednisolone, do you recommend for every case of lymphoma for acquisition or some particular cases?
See, what we use now, we normally use prednisolone for my treatment schedule I use, because when you treat the cases with multiple drug, they absorb the cancer cell die quickly. So what it does now, prednisolone not only is having anti-inflammatory, it's also having a cancer cell cytotoxic effect. That's the reason normally if you combine with all the other drug, you will have a better, effect.
Apart from that, lomustine, what he was telling, actually it is 85% good for this type of epitheliotropic T cell lymphoma, cutaneous lymphoma in canine. But it will have a duration of lifespan will be only around 6 months. Whereas recent reports state that isotretinoin, a retinoid, along with the interferon alpha, say interferon alpha with the dose rate of 1.5 into 10 to the power of 6 meter square, and isotretinoin 2 mg per kg body weight daily. Whereas interferon alpha has to be given every other day for 3 months will make the animal to live nearly 1 year. So that is one important finding they have identified recently. So that will help a lot for the practitioners.
So since we are losing Dr. Chandrasekhar and we have gained you here, so we'll request you to highlight, because he has highlighted many aspects, DBT projects, research, clinical, every area. Will you look at the clinical area and say what are the practical difficulties or what are the treatment protocols truly followed in the field? What will help in treating the animals better?
So as I told you, you have to examine, as he was discussing, the examination, clinical examination is so important. Whenever you see erythema or hypopigmentation in the mucocutaneous area, in the pruritic erythema or anything, immediately you should not neglect, particularly the distribution, what he was telling, he has shown the picture. So if you are in a position to have those distribution, you better take a cytology. Simple cytology will give you an idea about the disease. Particularly when you are going to see nucleocytoplasmic higher percentage. Suppose if the nucleoli is going to be very high in the FNAC, we can immediately suspect and send the thing for cytology and histopathology. So if you want to have a confirmation for CD3, you can send the thing to the lab nearby and confirm it, and you can go ahead with the treatment. As I told you, the latest treatment that isotretinoin and interferon alpha will improve the longevity of the life, that is more than 10 months. without anything. Within 3 months, you will be having all subsidence of the symptom. Okay. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I think I'll put just a last question because Dr. Chandrasekhar is not able to join back, maybe some network issues.
Okay.
Any change in the diet that you recommend along with therapy? Because we are inducing a lot of renal pressure and renal excretion requirements. So, any change in the diet which is recommended with the oncology?
As you are going for all anti-cancerous drug treatment, whenever you go for cancer patient diet, you have to add a lot of antioxidants. So the antioxidants has to be supplemented in any form, either in the supplement form or in the food form. You can very well give vitamin C, zinc, and all other antioxidants should be more in the diet. That will help a lot. And according to the need, you have to support, particularly as he was telling, essential fatty acids also will help a lot to improve the condition, particularly this cutaneous T cell lymphoma, epitheliotropic lymphoma.
Right, sir. These are basically, you talked about supportives which have to go up.
Yes.
Does the protein have to go down?
Protein, actually, if generally you don't have serious involvement with the kidney issue or anything, so no need to change any protein. A protein restriction is not required unless otherwise it is going to have a renal involvement. So antioxidants are very important.
Next question is, when you are treating a case with a chemotherapeutics, do you change the nutrition of the dog or it remains the same? Nutrition.
As long as the dog is eating, we maintain the same. But the dog which are not eating, we go for a convalescent diet, liquid item, assisted feeding like that.
Any usage, the last and the final question. And you should be actually bombarded with a few questions because you keep on coming in and keep on going out. So.
Okay, tell me what are some important questions.
Any usage of biotechnological products, biosimilars, some monoclonal antibodies that you are doing in Chile on this?
Use the drug called rituximab. It's a monoclonal antibodies. We use them for treating the cases of lymphomas, and we observed varying result. And that's the one drug we use. Even that the CAR T cell therapy is also under the monoclonal antibody technology only, which I told you in the last slides. How we are preparing the T cells, and then how we inserting some genetic engineering work. Then we'll infuse to the cancer patient. It is under the trial. But as of now, we use rituximab is the monoclonal antibody we use for the treatment of B cell lymphomas.
Okay, this has got something to do with the hybridoma technology. Is it similar?
Yes.
Dr. Chandrasekhar, it was nice to have you in our webinar, and we also learned a lot from you. So thank you for being there. Although most of the times you run like a Toronto Express, so you are very fast in your expressions. So many people have expressed that you should be a little slow during webinars. So just a expression from the audience. So and thank you, sir, for being so. This Nagaraj sir, if you want to.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Chandrasekhar. Thank you for everyone. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks for all, INTAS for providing this educational platform. There is a Tamil poet named called Thiruvalluvar. If you provide education in one generation, it will helpful for 7 generations. So INTAS taking up the digital technology for all the veterinarian around the world. And some of my professors from West Indies, they asked me, there are some of the students they would have joined. Some of them from the US and some from Canada, and some of the practitioners here, and some other colleges, within India, they would have listened it. And then we thank the INTAS for providing this platform. I thank Dr. Nagarajan. You only first initiated me to talk to this in this platform. Thanks for one.
You have forgotten ABD, na?
Yes. I, on behalf of everyone, thank AVD for.
Dermatology only organizing this.
Yes.
Thank you very much, sir. The Asian Veterinary Dermatology, I want to thank.
So, Association for Veterinary Dermatology India.
And then all the president, vice president of INTAS, and then Singh, and then the other team member who helped in this behind the screen. I want to thank all the team members. So there are a small disconnection, then connections. That's because of some technical error. But otherwise, wholeheartedly, I contributed all the information. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Dr. Chandrasekhar. Thank you. Thank you to all. Thank you to the entire audience. Thank you.